Hey, good morning. It's Mark here with another morning rant. A few days ago, the Republican National Committee did a resolution to censor or, like punish two Republicans. What's her name? Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger are Republicans that are on the January 6th commission to investigate the riot and insurrection that happened at the Capitol on January 6th. Now, the story is that this was supposed to have been a bipartisan committee of 7 and 6. I think 7 and 6. Republicans and Democrats. Because Democrats were in charge, they were going to have 7. Republicans were going to have 6. Both sides were going to have investigatory power. Both sides were going to have subpoena power. So the Republicans could subpoena people for this investigation. Democrats could subpoena for this investigation, and it was all going to be legit, straight down the line. And it was negotiated by Kevin McCarthy. But then he put some of the conspirators of January 6th on the committee. Nancy Pelosi didn't like that, so she said, no, these guys can't be on it because they could be part of the investigation. And if they are a part of the investigation, it could be a conflict. If if you got some people that were a part of January 6th, whether it be the riots or whether it be the plot to overturn a legit election on the committee, they could potentially hide evidence, try to, sway the investigation right or left. So Nancy Pelosi was like, no, we're not going to do that. So Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney were tasked to be a part of this commission. Republican National Committee, the GQP, didn't like that. So Adam Kinzinger was sanctioned or given a resolution by his district, his representative district. Liz Cheney was given a resolution. She was censored by her Republican district in Wisconsin, I think she's from. And they've been trying to attack these people ever since they became part of the January 6th Commission, thinking they're part of the plot to arrest and, arrest political people who were correct in what they were doing. So a few days ago, the RNC went a little further. They decided to write a resolution condemning Kinzinger and Cheney. And here's what they said about the January 6th riot that happened that day. They said this. It was a 2-page resolution. And here it is right here. Representatives Cheney and Kinzinger are participating in a Democrat-led persecution of ordinary citizens engaged in legitimate political discourse, and they are both utilizing their past professed political affiliation to mask Democrat abuse and prosecutorial power for partisan purposes. Excuse me. So, the RNC decided to call January 6th a legitimate political discourse. This is what they're saying is legitimate political discourse. Look, now this is supposed to be the party of the thin blue line. This is supposed to be the party of police lives matter. This is supposed to be the party of law and order, right? That's what the GQP say they stand for. But why are they fighting the police here? This is legitimate political discourse. Look at this. They have a noose here. Who do they want to hang? They wanted to kill Mike Pence, their vice president. They wanted to kill their vice president, Mike Pence. They wanted to hang Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House. This is what they brought. And had they caught him, we don't know what would have happened. I'm not saying this would have happened, but we don't know what would have happened had they caught Nancy Pelosi. Do you think they would have strung her up? What would have happened if they had caught Mike Pence? Do you think they would have strung him up? But this is legitimate political discourse. This is okay, and I wonder why. This is political. This is legitimate political discourse. Entering a federal building, even though it's our building and we pay the taxes for it, entering a public building without the okay. Look, this is legitimate political discourse. This is what the Republican National Committee says is legitimate political discourse. Fighting police officers. Disobeying. Now, don't get me wrong. But look, don't get me wrong. Those buildings are our buildings. We can go in those buildings free of charge. Not to do another humble brag, but my family and I, back in 2018 or so, we went to the Capitol. We went to the White House while President Trump was president. You can go to these places. You just have to first make a reservation. With the White House, you got to get a background check because they don't want just anybody walking in there, which is fine. It took us 6 months. And I'm glad I did this back in January of that year, 6 or 7 months, because we didn't get in until August. We were going to take our trip in August. So it took us 6-7 months to get the background check done, just to spend about 30 minutes in the White House. And that's okay. It's my house just as much as it's your house. The Capitol building is my Capitol building just as much as your Capitol building. But still, we had to go through certain protocols for the safety of myself and for the safety of the staff and for the safety of the people that work there. But this is okay. This is legitimate political discourse. That's what this is. This is what the RNC has said is legitimate political discourse. Tearing up. Look. Trump smart breaches the Capitol. There are some people who urinated. This black brother here, he has received a Congressional Medal of Honor. He is considered a hero because he misdirected the Trump mob to other parts of the Capitol. Had he not done that, who knows where these guys, they probably would have caught Mike Pence. But this is legitimate political discourse. That's what the RNC says is legitimate political discourse. It's okay. It's okay. So Hakeem Jeffries, he's a Democrat representative from New York, I believe, New York or New Jersey, somewhere in the New England area. Here's what he's calling the RNC now.
And RNC doesn't stand for committee, it stands for cult. It's not the Republican National Committee, it's the Republican National Cult. That is the only way you can explain how the grand old party would come to the conclusion that people who engaged in rampant mob violence, urinated, defecated, desecrated the Capitol, brutally beat up police officers, seriously injured more than 140. Police officers lost their lives as a result of the events of January 6th. And the cult says it's legitimate political discourse. They've come to that conclusion because they continue to bend the knee to the former twice impeached so-called president, Donald Trump. Ronna McDaniel should be ashamed of herself. What makes it worse is that our Republican colleagues here in the Capitol refuse to denounce it because they're part of the cult as well.
So the Republican National Committee has become the Republican National Cult. And okay, if you want to call it that, okay. But what does it say about a party? What does it say about a party that has no political platform? They are not running on a platform this midterm election season. They did not run on a platform for, they tried to put together a platform in 2016. They did not have a platform in 2020. They do not have a platform now. And what is the platform? They're going to say that they're running on lower taxes, getting rid of the mask mandate, things like that. But I've said this for years. The Republican Party has no ideas. They have no agenda. They have nothing. When Donald Trump was in the White House, they literally passed no real legislation. No real legislation. Their whole 4 years was trying to get Republican judges on the courts. That's one of the main things that they were trying to do. The other big thing they did was they passed a $1.5 trillion tax cut for the rich, hoping it would trickle down. And I've gone over this time and time again. Trickle down economics don't work. It didn't work for Reagan, and it didn't work for Bush. It does not work. But they still harp on this trickle down economic policy. So Hakeem Jeffries thinks that the Republican National Committee is now the Republican National Cult. I've said for months that the GOP is now the GQP. So you for a party, look, the presidency is a popularity contest for the most part. Who's the most popular based on their policies, based on their looks? Because believe it or not, looks matter when it comes to electing the president, whether you male, female, black, or white. So, but the presidency is basically a popularity contest. But it's a shame how when in the past, when a president was done, whether they did 4 years or 8 years, when a president was done, he still had some sway in the political party, but for the most part, he was done with public political discourse. He would come out and rally for certain people. He would come out and endorse certain people. He would become a grand old kingmaker, whether he was Republican or Democrat. So, like, for instance, Ronald Reagan, I don't think he came out and endorsed anybody. He endorsed Bush. But for the most part, he stayed in the background. He was already old when he left the White House. He stayed in the background. George H.W. Bush, when he lost his election, he pretty much stayed in the background. He was still part of the GOP, but he stayed in the background. When Clinton left the White House, he went out and he publicly endorsed certain people. But for the most part, he lost the power that he had in the Democrat Party. He was still in the background, and he would come out and endorse certain people. Of course, he endorsed his wife. He endorsed Barack Obama twice. He endorsed Joe Biden. But for the most part, once you lose that presidential power, once you're no longer able to obtain the White House, you kind of fade back in the background. You become a statesman. Barack Obama, you haven't really heard from this guy since he left the White House. Every now and then he'll come out and endorse somebody. He's written a book. He's done certain projects. But for the most part, even though he still has political sway in the party, he's largely stayed behind. Here you got Donald Trump. The party seems to be more in line and more willing to kiss the ring and kiss the ass of Donald Trump than try to build their party. The Republican Party is old and white. And instead of trying to expand their political tent, they are fixated on just one man, one person. So is that a cult? Hey, you call it what you want. But how can a political party say that the people of January 6th were engaging in legitimate political discourse? And I'll give you one other thing too. First of all, you say, this is schizophrenia. You say that they were engaging in legitimate political discourse, but at the same time, people say, no, it was the CIA and Black Lives Matter out there. So make it make sense. The people in that crowd on January 6th, were they CIA, FBI, Black Lives Matter, Antifa? Or were they Trump supporters engaging in legitimate political discourse? It can't be both. It can't be both. People, the Republicans in the Senate, they went on the floor and said that they believed that it was some Antifa people out there, it was Black Lives Matter people dressed as Trump supporters, and that they were out there doing the rioting. But the Republican National Committee just said they were engaging in legitimate political discourse. So which is it? So Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney were censored by their own party because they want to get to the truth of what happened on January 6th. I'm going to leave it at there, people. Hey, today is Thursday. You guys have a great week. Hope you had a great week. Hope you continue to have a great week. And I will see you on the next one. I'm out. Y'all take care, all right?